Thank you for joining us for 3Bs on the Law podcast, hosted by Trisha Barita, Camille Canali, and Susan Dawson. Disclaimer, this podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only, not meant to provide legal advice, and does not create an attorney-client relationship. Also remember, laws change or they differ by jurisdiction, so this is not a substitute for seeking legal counsel in your jurisdiction on the current law applicable to you.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of 3Bs on the Law. Today we're so excited, one, because the three of us are all back together for the first time in a long while. And secondly, we have a very special guest, Margaret Brown, today. Margaret is the founder and social media extraordinaire, as I call her, of Socialize LA. She is an expert and lover of all things of modern marketing and all things social media. And so we invited her here today as part of our small business startup series to talk about her tips, mistakes, and how social media is changing for small businesses over time. And so, but first, I wanted to hear from Margaret and have her tell us a little bit about her business.
Thank you so much to the 3Bs for having me. And a little bit about my business. This is my 13th year as a marketing agency, and it just time flies by. So if you are starting a business, before you know it, you'll blink and it'll be a decade. I can remember those first years, the lean years, didn't know anyone, barely knew anything about starting a business. And I will tell you that one of my strengths was getting involved in an organization that we call NABO. And that's been amazing for me. But my business is all about helping small to medium-sized businesses with their marketing, both with fractional CMO services, done for you services, and then done with you services, where I do a lot of training and guidance. So it is my pleasure. It's my life's work, and I just love what I do, and I have an amazing staff that support me.
And one thing I did forget to mention is you also have a podcast. You're a fellow podcaster. And your podcast is called Flex Your Influence. And can you tell us just a little bit about what your podcast is about?
So the Flex Your Influence podcast, we just discuss topics that I feel are relevant to small businesses. I tell anyone who works with me, talks to me, or, has any interaction with me on marketing that I bear all when it comes to what I'm doing in my marketing, what you should be doing in your marketing, et cetera. And so that's what we do on the podcast. I really want to help small businesses make the right decisions in their marketing.
That's great. So I follow you on all the social media channels that you're on, and I'm always so impressed with all the things that you do and how creative your approaches are. What are some of your tips, just to dive right in? I know you work with a lot of smaller businesses. What are some of the top tips that you have for businesses that are just trying to build a social media presence?
Mm-hmm. I would say the first thing you need to do is define who your team is, how much time you have to devote to these. So if it's just you, decide how much time you're going to devote and commit. Social media and marketing for small businesses becomes kind of like a nice to do. And I want to urge you to say, I'm going to block out this time on my planner, and this is an appointment I have with myself, and I am going to sit down and write a blog. And from that blog, I'm going to write 3 social media posts to connect to that blog. The time factor is so important. The next factor is planning. Plan, meaning strategy. Strategize where you're going to be and how frequent you're going to post. And again, commit to that. One of the things that I see small businesses do is they sit down and they say, okay, I have free time. Now I'm going to write a blog. What should I write about? And it shouldn't be that way, because you're making it harder on yourself. So like one practice that I love is in December for the entire next year, I come up with all of my themes for the following year. And I do this with all of my clients. So in June, we know that we're going to talk about LinkedIn only. Now, we can be flexible, but the idea is that once we show up to June, we know exactly what we've already strategized and what we're going to talk about. So strategy and planning on your planner that you're actually going to do this is like the top tip I have.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. I definitely, see a lot of businesses doing all the sort of random scramble. I think you're talking about where they're just like, "Oh, it's so excited. It's St. Patrick's Day or something. Let me post all this green stuff." And you're like, okay, or you see where they've thought it through and there's some sort of image how they've connected the holiday back to the business, which I always find super creative and interesting if they, do it successfully. But now that you've given us kind of the tips and let's talk about the mistakes because, there's a lot of mistakes being made out there. What do you think are the glaring mistakes that you think people should try to avoid?
Okay, so there are definitely a lot of mistakes, but I don't know if I can call them mistakes because small business owners, now when we say small business owners, we all know that could be, a pretty substantial sized business. And so I think people might sometimes get confused with the word small business, but either way, small businesses, sometimes they don't reach out for help. So they're just doing what they can. So I hate to call them mistakes, but a few of these mishaps is having someone at the helm of their marketing that doesn't understand the goals of the business. And they're just putting up cute images, like you just said, Trisha. And it's like, okay, this is great, but how is this connecting to your greater purpose? And are you analyzing the data? Are you looking at, what's converting, what's not? Another mistake is, hiring and the bleeding. I just sat down with a lawyer actually, and she gave me her numbers of how much she's spending on paid advertising and agencies. And she says, and I'm too busy to manage it. And so, there's issues. And I feel like she's getting taken advantage of. And so she needs a trusted advisor, which is why we have our fractional CMO services. So she can have someone who's on her side, almost like her lawyer, her marketing lawyer, to say, you just don't know what you know. So you hire someone who you think you can trust, and really it's just bleeding. Those are two of the tips.
Well, I just had following up on that. I think that's kind of interesting because I've certainly fell into this, being a business owner where I find it, this is obviously not either one of the three of us our purview. Although me and Susan, I think we really like marketing a lot because we're always chatting about it, but certainly not at the expertise level you're at. But it's hard to figure out what is success in these platforms. It's confusing. If you throw a picture up there, like a cutesy picture, and you get a bunch of likes, I don't know, to someone who doesn't really know anything, I'd be like, oh, Susan, that was pretty successful, right? I get the feeling from just your discussion there, that's not what you consider success. So can you just go off on that a little bit?
Yes. Okay. So a post, we are small business. We are not a influencer who goes to Coachella and is half dressed with a headdress on. Okay, so
wait a minute. Maybe Camille is. We don't know. That's
I spoke too soon.
I guarantee you, I'm fully dressed at any event I attend.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I spoke too soon, but most small businesses, we have to come to terms with. This is who we are. We're a small business. Our network is smaller, etc. But let me tell you the power of your social media posts. I don't care if you have 5 likes or 10 likes or 10,000 likes. As small businesses, we are not just relying on a social media post to bring in new business. We are networking. We're part of groups. We possibly have some ads going. We have referrals. If I said, how much of your business is referral? I'm sure you're going to say 80%, if not more. So what your social media does is it's fourfold. One, it gives you some stake online, which we all need that. We all need that for our SEO and for our credibility and our visibility. B, it shows you as an expert in your field if you're putting out the right content. C, it's keeping you top of mind with people, because not all of our business services are something that someone needs right at this moment. They may need you later, or you just need to stay top of mind. And then lastly, for that referral, Camille, if you referred someone to me, I trust you enough. Anyone on this call, I would trust your referral, but I'm still going to do my own research on the person. And so your social media, your blog, your email newsletter, all of that shortens the sales cycle. So for small business, it's a little bit different than like a popular consumer good or a 1 million person following influencer. It's a little bit different. So don't stress the small numbers.
That's great advice.
Yeah, that answered my question for sure.
Great.
Thanks so much, Margaret.
So now I want to talk about new platforms out there, because I know a lot of people, there is a lot of scuttlebutt right now about Clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that. You have probably guessed, am the social media lagger of the group. I am not as invested in social media as Susan and Trisha. I'm not an enormous social media user, but I am on Clubhouse, and I just kind of wanted to get what your thoughts were about this new kind of social media platform that's out there.
Well, if you've been on Clubhouse, you know that it takes a lot of time. And it's not like a platform like this where we can use it and reuse this, this segment right here. And you may not be a big social media user, but the fact that you have this podcast, you all are definitely leveled up. So I'm super proud of you for that.
So happy dance here.
We all feel super proud of ourselves.
Yeah.
Thanks, Margaret.
Hey, Trisha has 2 podcasts. She's
amazing.
another one.
Amazing. I mean, it really is next level. And what it does is it shows you as the influencer. My hashtag is flex your influence. And I see small businesses, who are so amazing at what they do, and they're the best kept secret. And it's nothing to be, to brag about. But anyway, Clubhouse or whatever it is in 6 months or a year, we, as small business owners, again, that's who I do a lot of my speaking to and my consulting to. And we have to examine how much time and resource we are willing to devote to our marketing plan and then to any platform. So if you already don't have time to devote to anything, you're probably not going to want to go on to another platform. But it all goes back to who's your target audience. If your target audience is on Clubhouse, then you need to get there and go there and stay there and really engage, because your social media platforms, no matter which one it is, it's more than just posting and showing up here or there, but it's really about, building the pillars and devoting some time to not only post, but to engage in the community. And so it really depends on, what you're going to make of it. So check out Clubhouse if you have an invite and you have you have some time. Go into some rooms and you can have some fun, meet some people. I actually met someone who's going to help me organize my house via Zoom. And so, it was a meet from a meet, but yeah, I mean, it's just another way to meet people you'd never know.
There's some really interesting discussions on there that I've listened to, but I'm just kind of obviously starting to dabble in it. But as someone who is not very invested in social media, at least at the moment, I was just curious what your thoughts were.
Yeah.
I mean, I get what you're saying, Margaret, though. Like, the interesting part about it, which is and how it will be used, we'll have to see if there's a pay issue or how that goes out, as it develops. But you can't grab that content and regurgitate it in different platforms and stuff, at least not the way it is right now.
Not yet. Yeah.
But, there's a lot of time you can spend on it. And what are you spending that time? Why are you spending that time in there? I guess you have to be able to have that understanding. And I raised my hand once and I was super nervous about it. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what happens when you raise your hand, because it was so new. This in January or whatever, when I got my first invite, and I spoke and I asked some questions and I was like, oh, this is kind of rad. This is interesting. And I got a lot of cool information from, it was another podcast person talking, but Interesting platform, but I'm not sure exactly what or how it would be used sometimes with all businesses, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah.
So just kind of to bring us back and wrap us up, if there's one, if you're just starting out and we don't have really a platform or a strategy, and you're saying we need to focus. So if there's one place that we should focus, where should we focus? Maybe that's different depending on your business, but where should you try to focus your energies?
Okay, the first thing we all need to focus on and make sure that we have in place is a way for people to join our email list. Because as we know, social media can go down. We don't own any of that. Any of these platforms can go away, and your email list is yours. And to be honest with you, that's the moneymaker, because those are people who have at some point said, I'm interested in this for some reason. So having your database and then having calls to action to get people there. So sometimes you have to offer a freebie or a opt-in of, of some sort. We have to dangle carrots. We have to make people interested in giving us their email because they know what we're doing. And then once you have that call to action, start making a list of how you're going to promote it. And that might be in social media, through your blogs, through advertising, but that should be the goal.
That's great advice. And so, Margaret, we thank you so much for coming on. But before we let you go, we have a showdown. And so the 3 Bs always have a showdown with their guests, and we each have picked our preferred platform for our guest. And today it's our favorite social media platform.
Okay.
With the theme. And so do you prefer Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn?
For yourself,
Instagram.
Right?
For yourself.
Instagram.
We cannot get ahead with this Texas bee.
Yes, that was me.
So just so you know, Margaret, here's the contest. If Trisha wins, we all have to wear cowboy hats in honor of Texas on a podcast. If Susan wins, we have to wear cheese heads. So we're not super interested, I'll be honest. And Susan,
no.
Because
I don't even need those, so just saying.
Susan said Facebook.
I don't look that good in that color yellow for the cheese head hat.
And if you win, what do they wear?
They either have to wear an avocado or taco hat for California.
She won't commit, so I feel like she shouldn't even be in the running.
I'm behind anyway, so.
You said Facebook because you already answered Instagram. You were just so quick to text.
I knew you were going to grab Instagram, so I had to text it real quick, and I was like,
no, I actually do like Facebook. I get more interaction. People, I don't have as many people on Instagram, and people don't talk. On Facebook, I actually communicate. Someone like a family member will post something, and we're commenting and chatting. I don't get that in Instagram. And that's what I like about
And just so you know, if your audience is women business owners, Facebook is the place that you need to be, because that is where we are.
Right.
And, people will say, oh, but I have a business to business service. I'm looking for CEOs. It's like, well, I know about 1,000 CEOs that are just my connections on Facebook who would be, they're your target market. So, but again, they don't want to be sold to. We're building relationships.
Right.
I would never sell to you ever. And
Right.
you would never, we know each other. We're building a relationship. And so the way we've done this in regular networking is the same thing the same theme that you should take on with your online marketing. You're building relationships.
That's great advice.
I love it.
Yeah, Margaret, thank you again so much for coming on. We really appreciate your time today.
This is awesome. Thank you all.
Thanks, Margaret.
Thank you for joining us on today's podcast of 3 Bs on the Law. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast. We also welcome any comments. If you'd like to get in touch with us or suggest a future topic, you can email us at 3THREEBsonthelaw@gmail.com. And because we're lawyers, we need to remind you that this podcast is not meant to provide you with legal advice and does not create an attorney-client relationship. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great day.